Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official podcast. I am your host, Jacob Toronto. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on iTunes so each week, each episode of ChasingCinema.com's podcast is automatically downloaded to your iTunes. You could put it on your iPhone, your iPad, your iPod, whatever you're listening to your stuff on. And if you don't do iTunes, remember, you could always find us at youtube.com/chasingcinema. Today is going to be a little bit different if you are a new listener. Usually I'm here with my co-host Louis Corzolo, but today that is not the case. After celebrating the Chasing Cinema Choice Awards last week, I decided to give you guys a treat, and that is a special guest that I'm sure most of you have probably heard about if you are local. She has a... The girl that I have on today devotes her time and energy to necessary to advocate and educate and fight for teens to make the world a better place. She was recently listed on My Vegas's Movers and Shakers. She was named the top 14 to watch in 2014. She has over 30 film credits to her name, and of course, she's the host of the only Vegas teen talk show, Corey Taylor. Corey, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited.
I'm glad you're excited, but the pleasure is all mine. I've been hearing about you for quite some time. For those who follow Chasing Cinema, I did the Will Edwards show quite a long time ago. I know that is a mutual friend of ours.
Yes.
Corey's also worked with Will Edwards. So if you are local, like I said, you've probably heard about her before. So Corey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm excellent. I am super, super excited to do this. So thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you, and I appreciate letting me be on your show this past Thursday.
Yes, it was awesome.
Yeah, if you want to listen to Corey's show, the past show I was on, you always just could tune in to CoreyTaylorTalks.com, and that's COREY. Taylor, TAYLOR, talks.com. And make sure to like her on Facebook, facebook.com/Corey Taylor Talks. And of course, Twitter, because that's how we all communicate, at Real Corey Taylor. Corey, so just in case our viewers aren't very familiar with what you do and your show, I want to kind of introduce them to what you've been doing and the movement that you have presented, because me being someone who's known what you do, I know that you are very big in talking to the youth and kind of advocating against bullying and standing up for yourself, and you advocate a lot of great morals. But before we get into that, I have to ask you the one question I ask every guest that walks onto the Chasing Cinema podcast, and what is your favorite movie?
Oh, goodness. Okay, you know what? I think everyone's going to hate me, and that's okay. But I know this is really bad because there are so many great movies out there, and I love a lot of them. But my favorite movie is Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Oh.
Yeah. I know. Every time I tell someone that, they're like, "Are you sure you're an actor?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
To each their own. We'll get more into the movies and stuff in a little bit. But let's talk about your show. Tell us how I'm not 100% sure. I believe you're 16? Corey?
Yeah, or I'm 17. Just 17, so close.
Okay. I was close. But you are, being very young, you're 17, you're going through high school and stuff. Where did the inception of Corey Taylor Talks come from? How did you get that show started, and why did you want to start it?
Well, I was lucky enough to be a guest on someone else's radio show for my acting and everything, and amazingly enough, it was the best response they've ever had to a show before, and the producer came up to me and offered me my own show, which was really, really cool, but also it's all completely self-funded, so it took a lot of consideration. But at the end of the day, I was thinking just how much I could help people with this, especially teenagers in Vegas. As I'm sure you know, there's hardly anything for teenagers to do in Las Vegas, so I was like, you know what? It's completely worth it. And thank goodness I have an amazing, supportive mom. I call her my momager. And she supports me with everything. And she's been helping me pay for the show and everything. And she's so supportive with everything. And it's amazing to be able to help so many people and to get the word out about Vegas. And we just talk about everything and we make people want to listen, but then we always have a positive message in there. So it's really, really cool. And I'm so blessed to be able to do it.
I think what you do is very, very awesome. Like you said, it brings a lot of attention to not only the city, but it gives a very great community to, like you said, teens, regardless of young or older teens, and even older people.
Yeah.
Like I said, me and my girlfriend have listened to a few episodes. I'm definitely listening to more and more as I'm going through your archives. You can listen to any of Corey Taylor's older episodes, again, at CoreyTaylorTalks.com. Her show is every Thursday at 6 to 7 p.m. on VegasAllNetRadio.com. But if that's too hard for you to remember, you just remember CoreyTaylorTalks.com. There's a listen live button, and you could tune in. And I know that you could even call in sometimes, right?
Yes, and 90% of the shows people can call in and talk live, which is really cool. But it's kind of scary because you never know what will happen.
Yeah, it's true.
It's cool.
I remember listening to the episode you did after the Super Bowl, and you had a gentleman call in, and he was grilling you about the Seahawks' last play at the Super Bowl this year. So unfortunately, here at Chasing Cinema, we're all recorded, so we don't have any call-ins or anything to really worry about. If I mess up, I can just go back and delete it. So I definitely honor your bravery because live is very intense.
Thank you.
When did you start acting?
I've been acting. Well, I truly have been acting since I was 2. I used to do little plays and stuff, but when I actually got into film and everything, I was about 10 years old. And my very first film was actually for the 48-Hour Film Project, and it was so cool. I got to work with Kelly Schwartz at the Indie Film Factory, which is an amazing place and everything. And they were just so cool, and it was such a great experience that I just started loving doing film even more than theater. So I just been doing film ever since.
So I'm assuming, but other people are different. A lot of people attune to Robert De Niro or Johnny Depp that even though they're great on camera, they still tend to be very shy. When you decided to do the talk show that you originally did before you were approached, were you nervous? I mean, do you still get nervous when you do the show? How do you handle your nerves? I know that sometimes when an actor is in front of the camera, it completely changes their personality, but off camera they might not be so prepared. How do you handle that?
Well, actually, honestly, when I first started it, I was very, very scared, and I always kind of had a shyness about me. I guess, like you said, like a lot of actors do. And so it was hard for me at first, but eventually it kind of just got easier, and it got easier for me, and it helped me build up so much self-confidence because, it's so much work to put on a show, and it's kind of like, wow, I actually did it. So it actually helps build your self-esteem and stuff. And of course, I still get nervous before every show and everything. But once the mic goes on, just like once the camera goes on, I'm in the zone and I don't let anything else that's ruined my week or day or whatever. I just focus on the show. And it usually turns out really good. And I've been so blessed to be able to do this. It's an amazing feeling. And like I said, it's always nerve-wracking a little bit, but it's so much fun. And I just love doing it that all the nerves just go away once it's on.
That is so awesome. I totally know what you mean by just kind of how it builds your confidence and knowing you've put some great product out there. But again, I sit and talk about movies. You talk about a lot of, very real things and try to really help kids with some serious issues. I know you've done a lot to rally against bullying and also just honestly being a woman doing this, being a young girl kind of advocating against violence and things like that. That's something that isn't very common, and that's something that's really, really great, and that's something that I love about your show.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it really is amazing. We had such amazing people on the show, too, and I've been honored to meet so many great people that are changing the world, and just celebrities who are actually good people and stuff. It really changed your whole perspective on life. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Actually, before we get into a little bit more of who Corey has interviewed in the past, hopefully everyone here remembers, who's been a longtime listener, Mike and Alex from The Other Sides, who also know Corey Taylor and is also mutual friends of ours, and they are great. And Mike and Alex, if you're listening, I miss you guys. Hope all is well. But Corey, you've had some incredible names on your show, from Michael Goddard, the artist that is very recognized for doing olives and dice and cards in his work. You've had the Disney star Adam Hicks, Tony Moran, and a lot of other names. I mean, I was going through the list, and there's a lot that I could mention, and a lot for different demographics. I mean, you had Tony Moran, who played Michael Myers, and then you have Adam Hicks, who's a Disney star, and then you have Michael Goddard, who's an artist. And then you've even had some, I know, some winners from MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen on your show. But you also always kind of bring it back to being local. But was there an interview in particular that you found kind of nerve-wracking or especially nervous for? Was there one that really kind of made you very, very nervous?
I get nervous when it's especially a lot of like the people that like I look up to, like I love MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen and stuff, so when I got to interview them, and I love Michael Goddard's paintings, I've been looking at them for years, so that was all really nerve-wracking. But the number one was probably when I interviewed Corey Taylor from Slipknot, because ever since I was little, I like I said, I used to do acting and performing and all different stuff like that. And my mom would post videos of me when I was little, I mean 4 years old, and it would say Corey Taylor age 4. And I would get so much hate from Slipknot fans saying, "You're not the real Corey Taylor," and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, wow.
And this has been going on my whole life. So when I finally got to meet him and have him on my show, I was so scared because I was like, this like is a big opportunity, and hopefully people will stop making fun of me and everything. And I was like, what if he's mean? But he ended up being one of the nicest people in the world. He was actually probably one of the funnest interviews I've ever done. And a lot of the fans really were supportive about it. And we ended up like deciding that both of us are the real Corey Taylor. So now whenever I get hate still about like, oh, you're not Corey Taylor, I'm like, oh, yeah, listen to the interview I did with the other Corey Taylor. So it's kind of funny. And that was probably the one I was really, really nervous about. But when it went on, he was just so nice. And I felt like I should have been the one that was like making him feel comfortable. But he was just so nice. He made me feel comfortable. And it was a great, great show.
And she's not kidding when she's the real Corey Taylor, because that is her Twitter handle. Make sure to follow her at real Corey Taylor. And she also has a bunch of photos and other things on the website that you could look at CoreyTaylorTalks.com, and you could actually see the picture of her meeting Corey Taylor. That's awesome. No, totally. And now, but so that's also your favorite interview?
Probably just because it's been leading up for so many years, like literally my whole life. I was waiting to finally meet him. So that's probably my favorite interview. But honestly, all the interviews I've done have just been incredible, and I get a different experience from each one.
Good answer. And I realize that you just say you're a huge fan of MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen. So yes. Please don't hate me for making you miss the season premiere of Hell's Kitchen tonight, which is probably going on right now.
No, it starts in like 30 minutes, so we're good.
Okay,
we are totally fine. And I recorded it, so then I can fast forward through all the commercials. That's what I do anyway.
So I'm assuming, are you a Gordon Ramsay fan, or are you just like watching cooking shows?
I love Gordon Ramsay. I don't know why. I think, first of all, I know he's old, but I think he's very attractive. And it's just his personality. See, my mom, she's a New York Italian Catholic, so I'm used to everyone screaming and yelling at dinner and stuff, and having all the families like yell. It's just normal. It's not offensive or anything. It's just they care so much. Like, they just yell and stuff. So I understand where he's coming from, and I just think he's hysterical, and I can't cook to save my life, so I'm jealous of all these people that can cook, and it makes me envious. So I love the whole show. I think it's awesome, and I think he's the best. He makes me laugh every single show.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay too, actually. I love all of the shows. I'm the same exact way.
So I want to meet him so bad one day.
That's kind of my next question, so maybe he's the answer, but I mean, if there are a few, or you can name a few if you'd like, but is there any particular person or people that you really, really would love to have on your show and have the opportunity to interview?
Well, I always said, and again, this is probably going to be like everyone's going to be like, "Oh, she's such a teenage girl," but my favorite band in the universe
Oh,
and
I
my
know.
biggest celebrity crushes are One Direction. So my biggest dream in life, and I know this is pathetic, but my biggest dream is to interview them.
I unfortunately, and I really don't know much about One Direction, but anything that I have seen from One Direction has probably come from things I've seen on your website. I know you are a huge fan.
Yes.
Have you had the opportunity to meet them at all, or ever?
Yes, I did actually get to meet them, and I did get backstage passes to their recent concert in Pasadena, but I didn't get to meet them at that particular one, but I met them a few years ago in Vegas, and they were so nice, and I was just in complete starstruck. Like, I was just so in shock and everything, and I didn't even realize it till after the whole ordeal, and I was like, gosh, I wish I would have taken a better opportunity or something, but they were super, super nice. And when I got even backstage passes to their Pasadena concert, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, I got backstage passes to a One Direction concert. So hopefully next time I'll be able to interview them.
Is there anyone else that you could think of that you'd really love to interview or have the opportunity just to talk to?
Uh, there's so many people. My two favorite actors of all time are definitely Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro. I know they're probably mostly almost everyone's favorite actors. They're just so incredible, and I would love, love, love to get the opportunity to meet them and interview them. Even Robert De Niro, he always reminded me of my grandpa, like when on the Fokker movies and stuff. My grandpa was just the same way as him. So every time I see him, I think of my grandpa and everything. So I would really love to interview him and Meryl Streep and just so many people. I would love to be able to love to have the opportunity to interview.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Louie, my co-host, who's unfortunately not with us tonight, is a huge Robert De Niro fan, and I'm a huge Meryl Streep fan. I think she's one of the best actors to ever live, period. Women, men, out of all. What is your favorite Robert De Niro movie?
Oh, goodness, that's a tough question. That is a really tough question. Shoot, I'm gonna go for the comedy one just because he reminds me so much of my grandpa. I'm gonna say the Fockers because
Okay.
I think even though like he can play serious roles and he can play the good guy, he could play a killer, he could play so many different things. I think it's incredible that he can be so funny on top of it. So I'm going to go with the Fockers.
All right. That's awesome. Well, that's kind of going to move us into our next talk as we're going to move on and talk about your acting career. As I mentioned earlier, you have over 30 film credits. You know, you've kept yourself quite busy in your young 17 years. So that's pretty amazing. More power to you. It's always good to be productive. So tell me, I know you said that you started doing shows when you were younger, and that you got with the 48 Film Hour Project, and that's what made you want to be an actress. What about it made you fall in love with acting rather than wanting to be a director or a writer or something? What is it about acting that really gets you?
Well, see, I had kind of a tough childhood growing up, and thank goodness I had an amazing mom the whole time. But my dad was kind of out of the picture and stuff, and I think I truly still think that acting was just kind of my escape, and like I could play different people, and I could be other people than myself, and it was just truly such an escape, and I just love it. I've tried hula hooping. Hula dancing. I've tried gymnastics. I've tried ballet. I've tried swimming. I tried every single thing you could possibly imagine, and nothing compares to acting. I just love acting, and I think it's just such an escape, and it's an alternate reality, and you get to be all these different people and live all these different lives, and I just think it's so cool, and there's nothing else like it. But I don't think I could be a director or anything like that because that's a lot of responsibility too. And on top of it, actors just get to be different people and stuff. So I think that's what I really love about acting. But I give so much credit to the directors and editors and producers and all that stuff. But acting's just my thing.
Well, speaking of directors, I see that you've worked with Joe Lujan or Lujan.
It's Luhan. I
Luhan?
know. It's one of those names that's hard to pronounce. I used to think it was Lujin too. So.
Well, I've seen that you've worked with him quite often, and you actually have a new project that'll be coming out soon with him called Atelophobia. Can you tell us what that's about?
Well, basically, it's kind of actually cool because it's a horror story, so I don't condone what happens. But
That's good.
It's basically these group of girls, and they're just bullies, and they're mean, and they pick on everyone, and they pretty much get their revenge. And atelophobia means the fear of imperfection. So basically, they have to make themselves ugly and do things to themselves and torture themselves. And it's kind of payback for what they do to all these people and how they pick on everyone. So it's very, very interesting. And I think like it's one of those artsy-fartsy films that like everyone's going to love. And like I think it's really, really cool. I love the film. I love the script. I got to even see some clips of it, and it looks amazing. And it's just going to be really a great, great film.
How did that? I mean, is it just because you've worked with Luhan before that you kind of got the part, or how did you actually getting into this movie? How did that work?
Well, it was actually funny because when I first met him, we worked on a couple of short films together and stuff, and he directed a few short films. And he always wanted to do this movie, I guess, for years, Atelophobia for years now. And he was like, would you like to be one of the characters? And this was about, 2-3 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I would love it. And then it finally came to fruition, and it finally is happening. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. I mean, 2 years ago we were talking about it, and now it's finally here. And I just think it's an incredible, incredible film. And it was really cool that he even thought of me and to keep me still this part that he had me in for all these years and stuff. I think that's amazing. And he's just such a great guy. And it was such an honor to work with him again.
If you want to see what we're talking about, make sure to go to facebook.com/Atelophobia movie. And for all those who can't spell, I'll help you out here. It's ATELOPHOBIA movie, no spaces. In that you'll be able to find the trailer that I also watched. I was able to see a sneak peek, and there's also a lot of cool things, photos and behind the set videos on that Facebook. So again, that's facebook.com/Atelophobia movie, no spaces. Now, also, which is really, really cool, is that you recently did an event with the Live Room Escape Experience more in downtown Las Vegas, which is basically, for those who are local or not local, it's type of a game experience where you are locked in a room for a certain amount of time, and your job is to find a way out. Basically, you could go with a group or a bunch of friends, and you guys recently did an event down there.
Yeah.
And they decided that they're going to actually be doing a Atelophobia room. Is that right?
Yes. It was so cool. They let me announce it on my show. I only found out about it like a day before the actual event. I am so excited. I think every single room the Live Room Escape has right now, and all their rooms are incredible already. And when they were like, oh, we're definitely going to do an Atelophobia room, I was like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. And they were telling me all these ideas they had for it, and it's just going to be insane. Like, it's going to be so, so cool. Everyone want to do it. I'll probably go there 20 times myself. Everyone want to do it. It's amazing. I'm so excited.
Well, you're going to have to keep yourself in the loop and follow Corey Taylor, CoreyTaylorTalks.com and Facebook.com/CoreyTaylorTalks, or her Twitter @RealCoreyTaylor to find out when the room's opening. And also, do we know when the movie's going to be coming out, or when we could look forward to at least like a guesstimate? Because I know with a little bit smaller movies, they're not always a guaranteed release date.
Yeah, right now I know they're looking for a premiere date of May 13th, which is actually Joe's birthday, which is why he wants to do it on that day. And I know we're looking at all different places right now, so whenever we get that set and everything, I know they're really trying for May 13th. Mm-hmm. And then I think they're looking for a release date probably somewhere in July-ish. I'm not really sure. But I know the premiere will be hopefully May 13th.
again, if you want to really know, you have to follow it on Facebook, facebook.com/Atelophobia movie, no spaces. So while I was looking at your multiple film credits, I noticed that you tend to stick to the thriller horror genre. I know, and that's not all you've done. I know you've done some other stuff, but it does seem you really kind of favor that genre. Is that a particular choice, or is that a genre you feel comfortable in, or is it just because you love horror movies, or is it because you usually work with the director who usually is akin to that genre?
Yeah, I started doing horror films with Joe. Actually, he was my very first horror film that I've ever done, and he's done so many horror films with me, which is awesome because he loves horror films, and that's like his main genre that he always does. And so we always work on horror films. And then I started realizing more and more that I kind of got typecasted into horror films, and like everyone knows me as the horror film girl, but I do a lot of other stuff, and I've been lucky enough to do a lot of other projects that aren't just horror films. But I don't know, it's just been a thing. And the funny part is I love watching horror films, but I get so scared that I hate them at the same time. So it's a really love-hate relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And even when filming them, I find I get so scared. Like I really am in the moment because I truly am so scared, because like they try to set it up where it really is almost happening, and it's interesting and I love it. But yeah, I've been realizing myself that I've been in a lot of horror films lately, but I have been lucky enough to do other types of films too. So hopefully I'll get all different kinds of films.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, you're still kind of finding your groove and things like that. But it's very awesome that you are kind of getting into the horror genre. I know that you were able to interview some really great horror icons, especially Tony Moran.
Yeah.
But I know that we've now learned that your favorite movie is Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, correct?
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that movie doesn't scare you like it scared me. But what is your favorite scary movie? What movie scares you?
Oh, no. Oh, that's a tough one. My favorite one that I can hardly even watch, and I watched it so many times that I still get so scared watching it every time, is probably The Strangers, because it's just so intense and it could absolutely happen any day. I think that's the scary part. I think the scariest part is, like, the scariest type of movies is when it could definitely happen and very similar things have happened. And so I'm going to have to go with The Strangers, and that's why it was really cool. One of the masked ladies in The Strangers was on my show too, along with Tony Moran and Jason Voorhees and stuff like that. And so I was like, it was so cool. And I hate her character, obviously, because she's so scary, but she's the nicest person in the world, which is so funny. And they're all really nice people, and they're the classics. I mean, Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers are the absolute classics. So and to have like a newer version like The Strangers, which is personally probably one of my favorite, it probably is my favorite horror movie. So that was just really cool. But yeah, it's probably The Strangers is my favorite horror movie because it's the scariest one for me.
I got you. Yeah, and you talked to the actress Laura, I believe, Morgalis, who played the pinup girl. So again, that's another show you can listen to in the archive section of CoreyTaylorTalks.com, if I've not mentioned that already.
I gotta say, you're amazing with these puns. I'm horrible at that. You're amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Please teach me. Please teach all you do, because I wish I was better at that. You're amazing with that.
Well, thanks. But the whole thing is just try to let them know that I'm not plugging it. But, sometimes you got to make sure that people hear you. But honestly, the reason why is because I really want to move people to your show. I want to bring I want to help my audience come over to your audience and check out what you do, because it really is awesome. I've heard, and you really interview well. It's a really, really great show. I'm not saying, oh, hey, this is a friend of mine, go check her stuff out. Honestly, I've only met Corey a handful of times, and not even really that many. And but I know what she does is awesome, and I'm totally for it because it's a good cause. So of course I want to help you out as much as I can. We're having you on.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course. We're having you on because of something that you were able to do this all in the last about 2 weeks ago. You were in LA. You want to tell us what you were doing in LA?
Yeah, I actually got to do interviews for one of the Oscar events at one of the red carpets for one of the Oscars events, and I got to interview some of those celebrities that came, and it was really, really cool.
So how did that, before we get into who you interviewed, because I know there's some really awesome names to talk about, how did that come about? How did you get into that role and be able to go down to LA and interview some the celebrities?
Well, I was lucky enough to know the guy that's in charge of Product Hollywood, which is one of their events that they hold. And he's been so nice to me and so kind, and he loves the show, which is so cool. And he actually was able to let me interview the celebrities this time, and I was one of the only people that I was the only person at this particular event that could interview them, and it was such an amazing experience. And it was so cool because I've been to these events a lot, but this was the first time I was actually able to interview them. And at the Oscars, on top of all things, which is like that's every actor's
the biggest
dream
night in
is to
Hollywood,
get to the Oscars, yeah, and directors, it's everyone's biggest dreams to go to the Oscars. So it was really, really cool.
Before, really quick, me going in sidetrack mode again. Did you watch? Did you get to watch the Oscars?
Yes, I did. Because we got out early enough, so I was actually watching some of it from my phone, and then we got home, and I was able to watch the rest of it. But it was really cool. And I gotta say, I'm really bad, and I know people are always like, "Are you sure you're really in the film business and stuff?" I haven't seen a few of the Oscar-nominated films, but the ones that won, I did get the chance to see, and they're amazing, and I really think it was a great thing. So.
Which ones did you get to see?
I got to, I literally just watched Boyhood yesterday, Birdman, American Sniper, all that stuff. So.
Did you get to watch Whiplash by chance?
No, not yet. And I've been told that was like the best film of all time. Like this one person I know said it was literally his favorite film of all time, and like nothing will ever beat that film. So that is definitely my next film that I have to watch because I heard it was incredible.
I wouldn't go that far, but definitely one of my favorite movies of the year easily. But I loved Boyhood as well. I could definitely seeing you love Birdman as it is about acting, especially theater. I know people who were in theater really had a strong connection to that movie.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, did you get to see Nightcrawler?
No, I haven't even heard of that one, actually.
Nightcrawler was Jake Gyllenhaal's latest film. It was nominated for, I believe it was just screenplay, but it's a creepy thriller / horror. So I know that you're into that stuff. So check out Whiplash and Nightcrawler, because Nightcrawler was actually my favorite movie of the entire year. It was super great. So I really recommend it. But
I'll definitely check that out then.
Back to the Oscars and who you were able to interview. So why don't you let's break the anticipation and let's hear who you were able to interview. Some of the names you were able to interview.
Okay, well, I got to interview quite a few people. I can't even really truly remember all of them, but I got to one of the coolest ones I was really excited about because I mean everyone loves this show and it is a horror type of thing. So. One of the ladies from American Horror Story, I forget the character that she plays, but she plays one of the really creepy ones. But she showed up, and she was one of the nicest people in the world. And because her character is so creepy, and you're like, but she's one of the nicest people in the world. And so I got to interview her. I got to interview Eric Estrada, John Sally, Honey Boo Boo actually showed up, and I was really, really excited about that, again, because I'm a typical teenage girl. I love reality shows and stuff, and Here Comes Honey Boo Boo is one of my favorite shows, and I met Mama June and Honey Boo Boo, and got to interview Sugar Bear and Pumpkin, and so I got to interview that whole cast. I interviewed some people from The Middle, people from Selma, people from Tangerine. I mean, so many different types of people, and it was just so incredible. I met sports people. I met everyone, and it was just an amazing event, and it was so cool to be able to interview all these people.
Yeah, you actually got to interview someone that I think is really, really awesome. When I was a kid, there were two shows that I really, really enjoyed, and that was the Hercules, the Legendary
Kevin
Journey.
Sorbo.
Yeah, you were able to interview Kevin Sorbo. I looked on your Facebook and I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And among that, you also interviewed another one of my favorite childhood shows. You interviewed Kel from Kenan and Kel.
Yes, I forgot about him. I cannot tell you how excited I was to meet him because who didn't love Kenan and Kel? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so excited because I thought it might have been a trademark thing, but he was able to do the welcome to Good Burger. May I take your order? So I was so excited. And I was like, oh my gosh. And we got that all in an interview, and it was really, really cool.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I was excited about that one for sure.
You can see a lot more pictures of who Corey was able to interview, again, on Facebook.com/Corey Taylor Talks. Make sure to tune in to her show. It's every Thursday night from 6 to 7 p.m. on CoreyTaylorTalks.com. You just hit the listen live button. But if you miss it, it's okay. There's an archive section you'll be able... how long does it usually take for the show to get in the archive section?
It usually takes about 48 hours, and then it should be up by then.
Okay. Yep. So you just wait a couple days, and you'll be able to listen to it again.
Yes.
And again, to follow her on Twitter at real Corey Taylor, not the real Corey Taylor. Corey, I just really want to thank you for taking the time and coming out and talking to me, and again, letting me be on your show this past week. But I really want to, again, just tell you how awesome I think what you're doing is, and just keep on doing your thing, man.
Well, thank you so much. And honestly, your show is incredible, and you guys were so amazing on my show. I think you're just the absolute nicest guys, and you're so, so cool, and your show's incredible, and I really appreciate you letting me be on your show. I'm truly honored, so thank you so much.
Oh, you're too nice. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I am interviewing Corey Taylor. Make sure to go check out CoreyTaylorTalks.com. I am your host, Jacob Toronto, and please continue chasing cinema. Unfortunately, today we don't have much time to review Chappie and Unfinished Business, the biggest releases for this upcoming week, but I will quickly debrief them and tell you where you could find our reviews for them. First, we'll start with Chappie, the new film from director District 9. In 2009, the man kind of blew up on stage as he made an Oscar-worthy film, District 9. The movie earned 4 Academy Awards. Wallis was nominated for Best Picture, and Neil Blomkamp was also nominated for Screenplay. Fortunately, did not win anything, but it was a movie that made someone really interested in the director. He didn't make a movie till 4 years later when he brought the world Elysium. Elysium was a little bit underwhelming and kind of upset a lot of people, not in the sense that an angry way, but upset in the fact that we were expecting something great from this up-and-coming director. Now we have Chappie, a movie that I feel is quite confused on exactly what it wants to be, what kind of tone it wants to produce. However, it has a lot of glimmers of hope. It has great moments of comedy and heart. Soundtrack, unfortunately, just doesn't all come together as much as I would like it to. I think there are two main stories going on at Chappie. One with the actual rappers Ninja and Yolandi from Die Antwoord, and who it was actually a South African rapping band. And they adopt Chappie and eventually try to train him into becoming a member of a heist. And Chappie, mind you, is a robotic police droid, which is in the future created that is given artificial intelligence. He's the first of its kind, as his creator, Dion, installs this programming in him that allows him to think and feel on its own. And then that's exactly what we have, the story between Dion and his creation, Chappie. And also the conflict with Hugh Jackman, who doesn't believe in artificial intelligence and also wants to get his creation off the ground because they work for the same company. I think that the film would work better if it was concentrated on one rather than both. I'm not saying films could have subplots and different things going on, but one of these plots is serious and talks about a specific type of theme. The other is silly and goofy, even though really highly entertaining. It doesn't blend very well. It doesn't seem to all come together. It feels like it works better in parts. So if you put Die Antwoord or Die Antwoord in their own movie, not using Chappie or maybe using something similar to Chappie, or just having them starring in their own film and being as original and out there as they are, I think the movie would be a hit. And if you put Chappie in the story between Dion and Hugh Jackman, I think you have a much better film because it's consistent, it is saying something specific, and it gives us a direction to go in, because like I said, with the two conflicting tones and things like that, the movie just doesn't ever feel exactly right. And Dion Wilson, the creative Chappie, was played by Dave Patel, who I love. I think he's great, and I think the movie should have concentrated on him more. Not that the movie is terrible. Again, I think the movie works better in parts, but if it works better in parts and not a whole, that usually means there's a problem with the entirety of it, and it's a movie that I might go on YouTube to watch a scene or two, but not the entire thing again. What else? I did love the music. Again, the music is done by pretty much the main characters, Die Antwoord, who from South Africa. They do a really great soundtrack to it. But again, the soundtrack doesn't really necessarily fit the tone of the movie that I was expecting to see. You know, there's a really sad scene when Chappie's getting abused by a bunch of kids because he is, again, a police bot, but a stolen one at that. And then we have this scene when he turns into a gangster, put chains on him and we tag him, and it just doesn't work all together. I don't feel like it all comes together as a whole to tell a story or a meaningful theme, but I didn't hate it. It was a movie that I really did want to enjoy, but unfortunately couldn't really grab onto as much as I would have liked. Please read more of my review of Chappie at chasingcinema.com/Chappie or youtube.com/chasingcinema for our video review. Next, we have Unfinished Business with Vince Vaughn, directed by Ken Scott. The two teamed up together about 2 years ago for the movie Delivery Man, which is based off the short film Starbuck, and told the story of a man who donated his manliness to many, many clinics, and actually developed over, I forget how many children, but 100,000 or 1,000 children, tons of kids that he never knew about. And all these kids have joined together to find out who their identity of their father is. And I thought the film had a lot of heart. I thought the film had a great theme. I'm sure it wasn't the most realistic or most emotional film, but it had heart. I don't mind films that have heart and that want to kind of tell a message. I enjoy that. I joined Vince Vaughn. It seems people hopped on the Vince Vaughn wagon very quickly and then jumped off very quickly. However, he doesn't bother me. I still enjoy him. Though I would say he never has kind of reached the acclaim of himself and Wedding Crashers ever again. You know, Couples Retreat was a bit downer. I thought Internship was a real downer. But I don't mind him. I still don't mind him. I don't give him as much slack as he usually gets. This movie also stars Dave Franco and Tom Wilkinson, and tells the story of a small business owner going to close a deal on a business trip that basically would save the company from closing down. And it kind of falls in the whole Hangover comedy where it's real raunchy, and they tell these real raunchy sexual moments. There's also a lot of really, really raunchy humor. However, the movie also tries to be this cheap emotional movie. Let me put it this way. I've never seen a car wreck in real life, but I'm sure I saw the same type of tragedy and pain and chaos as I would on a highway as I did in this theater. I mean, this movie was a tragedy. I absolutely hated it. And that is a word I usually do not use to describe films. I try my best to never take cheap shots or be too harsh on a movie because I know a filmmaker has been dedicating their time to it. However, I truly feel that this movie no one cared about, including director Ken Scott. And if he doesn't care to try to make a good film, I'm not going to try to care about it. I really, really hate this movie. And again, I never say that word, but I have to with this movie. Actually, it is the first film ever to receive 0 stars on our website. That's right. I didn't even give it a half a star, the usual lowest score. Actually, the only lowest score up to this point. Nope, I'm actually giving this film 0 stars. There's nothing about it that I liked. I tried to search for something to enjoy. Nothing. There was no heart. There was no emotion. They did attempt to use cheap emotion about bullied kids and tell you this theme about him and his son. However, I thought it was backhanded. It was contradicted throughout the entire film as they treat a character poorly. I really did not like Dave Franco's character. He was really annoying and he was just begging for comedy. And then at the end of the film, you find out he's possibly a part of a special ed group. And then I mean, I don't know what that is. I mean, are you trying to tell me that everyone should feel bad for me laughing laughing at him for being so goofy, because some of the audience was. I didn't, because I think it was funny. But are we making fun of him, or are we just supposed to say, oh, I don't know. I just didn't know how to walk away with that. But that was just part of the issue. The movie went for cheap emotion, cheap laughs. It was unoriginal. It was lazy. It felt like it was 2 hours long, but they were so unconfident in the movie that they cut it down to 30 minutes. I mean, it was just all over the place. I really didn't like it. So make sure to see why, a little bit more detail on why I gave this movie 0 stars. It is the worst film. I think one of the worst films I've ever seen, but definitely the worst movie I've seen this year. I'd watch Jupiter Ascending and Mordecai back to back instead of watching this film, watching half of this movie ever again. ChasingCinema.com/unfinished business. And you can go to YouTube.com/ChasingCinema to find our video review of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and please continue chasing cinema.